Hello, class. Today we will discuss political ideology, one of the important concepts in political science. So, this is an agenda for our discussion today. Again, from like very, very early ideas about politics to something which is current in the United States and some other countries. Example how changing like main ideology could lead to huge changes in standards of living. Venezuela, like before Hugo Chavez, had a pretty developed economy in terms of exporting oil, being able to get lots of revenue from it. But since it was like hardcore capitalist country at that point, and there was insane inequality in income between rich people and poor people. Once Hugo Chavez came to power, he started implementing socialist policy, which led to like more income redistribution. Major American companies have been nationalized, but as a result, government turned out to be not very effective in running companies. And now Venezuela is a country from where like lots of people try to immigrate to the United States. Simply speaking, political ideology is like how our politics should look like. And this is an idea which allows people to say, okay, this is the ideal, and we want to get to that ideal, whatever that is. These are learning outcomes for the section in the next couple of minutes. Again, classic Greek and Roman, here mostly Greek philosophers. Socrates said that reason is the main tool to answer questions we have. And we should be able to like withhold criticism to be able to reason for whatever thing is best. Plato said society should be ruled by like thinkers who have great ideas how it should be done. And those thinkers, philosophers should be corrupt, pretty idealistic, right? Aristotle, another great philosopher, again, reason, main way to address issues. And when we like look at current political divide in the United States, we have Democrats and Republicans, and some people within like parties try to use reason and others try to use fear. Like, for example, many members of the Republican Party are kind of anti-immigrant, and they try to stake like fear of immigrants. This is like how they operate. Another important thing Aristotle posted is that one of the most effective, in his view, systems of government would be monarchy or aristocracy. But he did recognize those forms of government could lead to tyranny. Another important thing is, I think it had some influence on founding fathers in this country. Democracy is a good idea, but people like who lead it should be chosen from middle class. This is kind of how American system operated when it was founded. An important thing which is still relevant today, political participation is important for politics to function and for people to flourish. Again, I keep repeating, here in the United States, any politician who run for at least a statewide office, let's say governor or senator in U.S. Senate, they try to not try, they hire pollsters to see who is likely to vote, and if they know certain demographics are not likely to vote, they just ignore the interests. And this is like a classification of political regimes in Aristotle view under two dimensions. If it's like for yourself, tyranny, oligarchy, democracy for all, and like how it's done, individual level, tyranny and monarchy, few people, aristocracy, oligarchy, and majority, democracy and politeia. These are learning outcomes for our discussion for the next few minutes. It centers around folks in England and France. One thing is, in most of the middle century, there was an idea that government should promote Christian faith in Europe, and this was like the main thinking for most Middle Ages up until 17th century. So one of the important philosophers in England, Thomas Hobbes, said that leaders, like the main criteria for anybody to evaluate your leader is to see how they maintain social order. And let's say compare Trump and Biden. Under Trump administration, number of hate crimes increased substantially. So if you apply, for instance, Thomas Hobbes' ideas to current American politics, you can use it if you like. Another idea is human reason, is like in laws of nature. If you follow it, then you will get great results. I think it's kind of idealistic in my view, but that was his idea. Important idea for Hobbes is Leviathan. The political government, the political system should be run by a strong government, which will force laws to maintain social order. And one of the ideas which is still relevant today, idea of kind of social contract between government and people, that people in exchange for some security give up certain freedoms. This guy Locke, he tried to build on Hobbes' ideas, but he shifted to like human rights, natural rights. Again, they have a right to land, and when they exercise that right, they must not harm other people. An important connections, Locke's ideas, they had very important influence on Adam Smith, who is considered like one of the founding figures in economics. Tricky thing, as you probably know, Washington D.C. They people who like are residents of District of Columbia, they do pay taxes as like residents of like I don't know Virginia or Maryland, surrounding places, surrounding states, but they don't have a voting member in Congress, not the senator, not someone who represents them. They do have like in house they do have like a delegate, but that person cannot vote for laws. Also was very important for for American political system for founding fathers. His idea, which kind of established here, man is born free. Learning outcomes for next few minutes of our discussion. Again, what is classic liberalism, and how it's kind of connects to modern day. So classic liberalism, important feature, it sees as valuable individual liberty and capitalism. Important thing about role of government, it must protect individual freedom as long as there is no like harm for other members of society. And how translated in American political system, in American political practice, Roosevelt said, given the like how horrible Great Depression is, it was important for government to intervene and make sure economy does recover after it. And one of the important things FDR did, they established Works Progress Administration, which allowed millions of Americans to like get some income, to get some things done, like build some bridges and highways. So it was important at that time. Hayek is considered one of the liberal economists who was concerned about increasing role of government, and like government regulations will hurt people. And in terms of political parties in the United States, his ideas about role of government is kind of the ideas that Republican Party still tries to implement whenever that party is in power. They always try to limit regulations and cut social programs. This is learning outcomes for a discussion for next couple of minutes, and we chat about Marx and fascism and communism. Nationalism is kind of complicated phenomenon. On the one hand, it says that our nation is so great that it is greater than the other nations. But sometimes, and it was used by fascists, by Nazis, by communist political leaders in Soviet Union and China and other places. And I think it kind of used by Donald Trump now. But one kind of positive aspect of nationalism, when it became more widespread in like 19th century and 20th century, it allowed some countries to become free from being colonized. A bunch of countries in Latin America and in Africa, they have been colonized by European powers, and nationalism allowed them to get rid of that colonial domination. So it is a complicated phenomenon. Marxism says that capitalist economy will be harmful for development of society, and at some point it will have so many contradictions, like so many problems, like decrease in standard of living, increase in employment. So it will lead to a collapse of capitalism and establishment of different order, socialism and then communism. And those ideas that you could have a society where you don't have private property, where government regulates production, and it will be effective. So far, human history showed us, like Soviet Union and other countries, this idea simply doesn't work. And we had a couple of extreme examples of nationalism. And the most horrible one would be Nazis in Germany, which started World War II, which implemented Holocaust. It's mass killings of Jewish population in any place where Nazi Germany has control, like in Poland and many other places. So millions of Jews have been killed on like an industrial scale. And so when someone compare Israel operation in Gaza to Holocaust, I wouldn't use that term. It's specific to killing Jews. And again, it was an industrial operation. They put Jews in gas chambers. They put gas in those chambers, and this is the way they killed them. So it is different from ground war which Israel had in Gaza. Important thing about authoritarianism in many countries, it still exists, like in Egypt, in China, in Russia, and many other places. So it is still not going anywhere. Learning outcomes for next minutes in our discussion. Again, what is liberalism, which forms it has, and how it's different in the United States and some other places. Again, the idea was at least like 30 years ago, since the collapse of Soviet Union and many other countries which Soviet Union supported, that democratic liberalism is now most common way of like govern people. And many of those countries try to implement market economies. Some have been successful, some not so successful. So it is complicated. And mostly the most common successful examples would be in Eastern Europe, where those countries try to, not try, but most of them joined European Union. So more developed countries in Western Europe subsidized those countries which have been under Soviet rule for many years, which allowed them to increase standards of living, and overall it was beneficial for those countries. But in some other places, like in Russia, in Central Asia, in Africa, collapse of Soviet regime didn't result in prosperous economy which benefits many people. If we talk about center right and center left, Republican Party could be said at center right, but I would argue that the Republican Party under Trump it moves closer to nationalism, where they cherish a leader. They don't cherish democracy itself. They just want their leader to rule the country no matter what. And like center-left ideology, what they try to do, and in many places they also incorporate environmental movements when they say that we need increase in social programs to address groups in society, social classes, which didn't benefit much from capitalism. More like left ideologists, let's chat about them. And again, the most common themes used in those ideologies are feminism, racial equity, and environmental concerns about global warming. But I would say Democratic Party in the United States, it has some major components of those like streams of ideas, like racial equity, feminism, environmental concerns, like concern about global warming. It is in the platform of Democratic Party in the United States. And few words about parties, ideologies which are more to the right. And in my view, like Republican Party is like much further to the right. I wouldn't say it's a center right party anymore. Again, they focus a lot on cultural issues. They focus a lot on religious freedoms. And for example, Donald Trump is like he looks like he's concerned about traditional Western culture, fear of immigration, all those issues. And it's kind of surprising that Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, he also adopted a conservative ideology. He says, oh, he's a family man concerned about family values. He's very concerned about so-called domination of LGBTQ in the Western societies. So in some parts of conservative folks in the United States, Vladimir Putin is actually popular, which is kind of weird for me. Okay, and lastly, let's chat about ideas that project political ideologies. This idea that Marx said that there should be priority of science, and science should dictate how we set public policies. Then this idea of Durkheimianism, they says that ideologies, they're not really rational, and they put like very strict brackets on politics, which is much more complicated. And I think lastly, religious extremists, they see whatever text they worship as their like main guiding principle, and they don't care much about political ideology which most people have. And I would say the reason we like have ideologies and most of us like belong to identify with something, it's a time saver in terms of voting. When you are voting for a particular candidate, in many cases people don't have time to study that candidate platform, but they know, okay, that person is belongs to that particular ideology, which is similar to mine, and this is why I'm going to vote for that person. So ideologies allows people, at least in democratic societies, to save time when they make voting decisions. That's it. Thank you very much.